Me, 50 male, and my ex-wife, 45 female, have been divorced for 14 years now. We have one child together, Rain, 18 male, and I've since remarried and have 3 children from my current wife. She's 48, the kids are pre-tween, teen, and my stepdaughter, 19 female. The customary arrangement we've had since Rain's been a teenager is he spends 3 months at his mother's house and then 3 months at my house and back again. Rain recently turned 18 during the 3-month period that he stays with me, and since then he's had to pay rent and for his own food for the rest of the time he stays here. He wasn't necessarily expecting it, but he wasn't a brat about it. He picked up a job quickly and has paid his first month of rent. No issue there. He's also putting aside money into his college fund so he can attend university next year. No issue there either. But apparently he's not budgeting properly because he's always hungry. He eats all right, but he wastes his money on junk food instead of buying substantial meals. As a result, he goes through periods where he gets borborygmi. Reader's note, a rumbling or gurgling noise made by the movement of fluid and gas in the intestines. It's nothing too loud, but it's noticeable if the room is relatively quiet. Last time I had my sister over, she noticed and he said he just had a stomachache. We're expecting company again this week and I don't want something like this happening again, so I explained to Rain that he can introduce himself to our guests and then he needs to stay in his room until they leave. Rain got angry and argued he didn't know how long the guests would be staying and that he can't help that he's starving out here. I reminded him he was not starving, but even if he was, it was not my fault. He agreed to the rules when he got here. Rain said he isn't blaming me for it, but he's not following my dumb rules regarding the guests, even after I told him they'll only be here for about an hour. I'm worried that because he's mad now, he's going to act all dramatic about how he doesn't get enough food in front of our guests. And even though it's none of my fault if that somehow gets to my ex-wife, I don't know what she'll say and I don't feel like dealing with drama. I also feel like he's trying to emotionally manipulate me with the starving comment. Am I the idiot? Edit, 19-year-old doesn't pay rent, wife won't allow it. Suddenly charging an 18-year-old rent since birthday is automatic, you are the idiot. I can understand charging a child rent if they don't seem to have any intention to move out, as opposed to living temporarily with parents to build up savings or job search, but it's not like an 18-year-old is likely to have any other options. This whole story reeks of, this child is a remnant of my failed marriage that I would wish out of existence if I could. I'm waiting to see what OP's reaction is when the kid inevitably drops the, I can either be your son or I can be your paying tenant, and if I'm a paying tenant, you have no legal grounds to confine me to my bedroom. If I'm your kid, you won't be charging rent and then yelling at me for a natural bodily function. Pick one. OP, you clearly hate your own kid, so you're only letting him stay because you're desperate for the money he's paying? Good point. Are you charging rent and starving your wife's 19-year-old daughter, or is it just your son? Oh, wife won't allow it. You have different rules for direct kids in the same household. You haven't taught him any of the skills you expect him to use. It's all on you. How do you think that makes him feel about you? When he does get his act together, no thanks to you, I wouldn't expect him to stay in touch with you. This type of parent has always baffled me. My father has always believed that if you choose to have kids, you have to be there for them and help them as much as you can so they have the best future possible. He wouldn't understand a man letting his son go hungry. This is just disgusting. Take the hint, dude. You are the idiot. One more time to be sure. You are the idiot. Son is working, paying rent, and trying to save for college. You really are doing the bare minimum as a parent. Feed your damn child. Me and my wife are well off and we are very grateful for it. We have 4 children and this is about our 3rd kid, Bella. We have a rule for college and it's to get your degree in 4 years. We will pay for it and if you graduate earlier, we will give you extra money for your own use. For example, my oldest graduated in 4 years and has no debt. My second oldest graduated early, took summer classes, and we gave him money that he's using for a down payment on a home. If they're doing a 5-year program, we will pay, but if they leave that program for a normal one, then it goes back to 4. Now, Bella has changed her major twice already, and she's a junior right now. She told us that she's changing her major again. I reminded her we're only paying for 4 years. This is where we got into an argument. She was upset that we wouldn't pay even though we had the cash. My argument, we told her before and we aren't changing how we do it. By the end of it, she called me an unsupportive parent and jerk for having her go into debt for pursuing her passion. Am I the idiot? She won't talk to me at the moment. Edit, my wife is annoyed with her. She's a B student for the most part. She didn't like what she was doing, so she was changing. She won't have enough credit since she needs to make up the sophomore classes for the new major. She's literature right now and she's jumping to data collection. Not the idiot. You're providing a great opportunity for your children, but that opportunity shouldn't be confused with limitless choices. She's a junior. She should be surrounded by people having problems making rent, people having to work 2 jobs or juggle children. She should be in the perfect space to be aware of her great luck. Part of your job as a parent is to teach her pursuing her passion doesn't pay the bills. She knew this when she started changing majors. If she's choosing to be a professional student, you made it clear after 4 years it's on her dime. I don't blame you, and I paid for all of my own education, not my parents'. I'm happy that you're doing well enough to cover the first 4 years for your kids. I'm not saying you have to pay. However, that said, you can't expect her to know what her career will be for the rest of her life at 18 and to pick the according degree. That's a broken part of the university system we have. If you switch majors, it can take 6 years. Also, if you do engineering internships, which they suggest 2 these days, that's a minimum of 5 years if you do summer classes. I'm just saying that the 4 years that worked for us in the late 1990s doesn't work the same for the school kids in the early 2020s. Your 4-year expectation and commitment is more reasonable at 5 years these days, but it's your money. Mini update. Thanks for all the advice. I'm sticking with my decision. I'm not willing to do this, especially since breaking the condition for her will hurt my oldest children emotionally. We're a one-income family. We have a pre-tween and a baby. I don't or can't work due to health chronic pain issues. My husband works full-time, usually 35 to 40 hours a week. When I cook dinner, I make enough so my husband has leftovers to take to work the next day. He has the habit of eating what's supposed to be his lunch as a large nighttime snack before bed. We have plenty of stuff he can snack on or heat up that's not his lunch for the next day. Then he ends up eating out instead, and he hates fast food, so he spends $20 to $25 on lunch each day he eats his lunch as a snack. This adds up and makes money tighter for us. I get it's his income, but it's affecting the entire family. I've asked him not to eat his lunch as a snack, but he says he loves my cooking and can't help it, and I should feel complimented. He enjoys it so much. I do appreciate he likes what I cook so much, but I also like knowing our bills will all be paid and we can afford gas, groceries, household supplies, and stuff for the kids without being in the red each week. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Having been in this position, the only thing that worked was sitting my husband down and actually showing him the numbers. Say he's eating out 3 times a week. That's $60 to $75 per week, or $240 to $300 per month, $2,880 to $3,600 per year. Girl, that's a family vacation that he's eating. That's a full month's or more rent or mortgage, simply because he won't save dinner leftovers for lunch and stop eating out. Lay out the actual cost of his snacking and give him a reality shock. It might help put things in perspective for him. We're a one-income family with my wife being home with the kids. I either take leftovers or I eat PBJs because the amount of dollars wasted on takeout lunches daily is absolutely absurd. Talking hundreds a month. I don't need to eat sandwiches or leftovers, but I recognize that it would be unfair for the fam and wife if I was spending hundreds on restaurants to myself. Come up with a solution together. Maybe make more food when you cook and portion out 2 lunches worth for the fridge. If I make more for dinner, he will have 3rd or 4th helpings. I do the grocery shopping and try to get everything I can on his snack list. He will still eat his lunch as a snack. Hubby is a recovering gambling addict and currently owes $100,000 in back taxes that I'm trying to also budget to pay towards each month. He currently works in retail, making around $40,000 a year. He has a master's in economics and used to make $200,000 plus. But some bad decisions in life messed that up and he ended up in legal trouble and can no longer work in his former industry. Wow, you really buried the lead here with the fact that this man owes $100,000 in back taxes and had a previous gambling addiction. There is absolutely zero reason he should be eating out with that much debt owed. Jesus in a Prius. Also, he should learn some self-control. This grown man needs to learn to restrain his impulsivity and leave his homemade lunch alone. Wait, what? Is OP sure he's not just gambling the $20 to $25 a day? He could be buying a co-worker's lunch on his card and then pocketing the cash to gamble. That's why he's so hungry. He's not eating any lunch, he's gambling. My sister Jess, 36, and her husband Greg, 40s, just got custody of Greg's nephew, Tony, toddler. Greg's sister has issues. She abandoned her kid, and of course there's no father in the picture either. My mom, Tammy, thinks we should throw a baby shower for Tony, who's a toddler, to welcome him officially into the family. I have 3 kids of my own, and I'm hurt over my mom just accepting this is how it is. Jess and Greg have good jobs that paid for the adoption process and get more parents' leave than I did for my own children that was either pushed or cut out of my body. My family acts like I'm in the wrong that Tony has had a family this whole time, and throwing a baby shower and helping Jess out with her new child is sweet. I don't understand how this is a thing with my mom when she has 5 other grandchildren and she's all into Tony and feels sorry for him. I don't think Tony will even understand why everyone is getting gifts and cake. It might even confuse him. My mom is like, what baby doesn't want a party? And she said she'd do the same thing for my brother and I finally get my brother on the phone who has his 2 children, and he told me I shouldn't even come to the party if I'm going to be a witch, and now my mom agrees with him. They're planning this baby shower in a few weeks and I'm not invited, nor is my dear husband or my kids. I still think everything is blown out of proportion, and my husband's side of the family agrees and thinks we should host our own party the day of the baby shower to see where everyone's loyalty lies. You are the idiot. Explain to us how throwing a welcome party to embrace a little boy who was dealt a crap hand in life starting when he was born harms you in any way. Go ahead, we'll wait. Anyone with a beating heart would feel sorry for him. Were the other 5 grandkids abandoned by their parents? No? Then be quiet about it. I don't think Tony will even understand why everyone is getting gifts and cake. It might even confuse him. Don't act like you give a crap about this child. Take your fake concern and get lost. The kid who's experiencing cake and gifts and love all for him for perhaps the first time in his life will not be confused. He'll be in heaven. And this? My husband's side of the family agrees and thinks we should host our own party the day of the baby shower to see where everyone's loyalty lies. It sounds like she married into the right family for her. The pettiness and passive aggressiveness is clearly shared. I'm not sure how you wrote all that down without it clicking with you how wrong you are. I'm very sure this poor little boy hasn't replaced you or your children in your mother's affections. She's just trying to welcome the little soul into the family and make him feel like everyone is happy he's here. I really do feel that it's time to apologize to everyone. Try to overcome your resentment of this little child and have some compassion for the very unhappy start he's had. Maybe even start to think about what you could do to ease his transition and contribute to a joyful occasion. Me, 45 female, and my husband, 46 male, have 2 sons. The older one is 21 and in college and works a part-time job on the side. The younger one is a teen and still in high school. My husband's brother has 2 sons as well who are 24 and 28. The older one is very nice and polite, but the younger one, let's call him Simon, has always been problematic since I can remember. He's a very picky eater, refuses to even bother engaging in conversation unless he's interested in it, and would always be the one getting fussy if we go somewhere on a family gathering. He hardly ever addresses me, and whenever he used to come over, whether by himself or with his brother, he barely managed to greet me. If I ask him personal questions, he shuts me down easily. However, he and my husband seem to have a good friendship and even talk on the phone once or twice a week. My husband's brother works 2 jobs and wasn't always a very present father. So Simon had attached himself to my husband even as a kid because of availability and common interests. When he was around 5, Simon even used to say he wants to marry my husband. We all saw it as a joke and moved past it, but I found the attachment odd since then. He and my husband both like hunting, video games, and the same types of music. Even cars too, which is my husband's main hobby these days. A few months ago, Simon wanted to go on a hunting trip with his father but was refused, so my husband offered to take him instead. I told him he should take our sons too and Simon's brother so it'd be like a family bonding experience. He agreed, but apparently it didn't go well. My older son and Simon's brother didn't like it, and my younger son was on his phone the whole time and complained since the hunting grounds are further away and require a lot of walking. My husband told me this and said he wouldn't force anyone else to come if they didn't want to. But ever since then, he and Simon spend a lot of time together. They go hiking every other Sunday in the morning, and Simon often comes over to help my husband with the cars he's fixing up, or play games while I'm at work. Simon only briefly greets me when oftentimes not even bothering to greet his cousins. My younger son told me he asked my husband for something, but he told him he'll do it later and then forgot about it. It upset me because I feel like he's neglecting our sons while having no issue spending time with his nephew and always talking to him on the phone. Simon seems more like a son to him than our actual son, and it really bothers me. He claims I'm overreacting and it's not a big deal, and that he tried to spend time with our sons, but they don't seem all that interested in doing what he likes doing. I told him they're his sons and he should show more interest, but he claims I'm being too pushy and overbearing. Every time I bring it up with him, he gets annoyed. No idiots here. I get that you want your husband to spend more time with your sons, but if they themselves aren't really bothered to reciprocate, then how would he force it upon them? It's a two-way street, right? And it looks like your husband isn't taking an interest in what both your sons are doing and vice versa for the sons. So it's no wonder that he's spending more time with a kid who shares his interests. You aren't an idiot for wanting him to spend more time, but don't force it on him. I disagree. OP's not the idiot. Sorry, but your husband is being an idiot to the kids you have together. He's neglected them and is still doing so. It's like Simon is his golden child when it's not even his own kid. The current state is probably from years, if not decades, of your husband spending a lot of time and favouring Simon over his own kids. That's such a rubbish thing to do. Your husband should prioritise his sons. He's doing to his younger son what his brother does to his nephew, except his son doesn't have an uncle who he could bond with. It literally doesn't matter that Simon and husband share interests. So my husband's point is that my kids don't share my interests, so why would I spend time with them? Well, because they're your kids and you should be interested in them and their interests instead of yourself. Being around them is supposed to be the rewarding part, not getting to do a thing you like. In 10 years, Dad will be complaining that his sons never want to spend time with him. He won't even notice they're not around, as long as Simon is around. What sons? LMAO, the irony of your husband being the exact same type of parent like his brother, but then saving his nephew from his brother. Sadly, if your husband can't see this, then what are you going to do in 5 or 10 or 20 years? Is this how you see your life?